So much, Peter. So, good morning, everybody. Sorry, good evening, your time. And if anybody is from the different time zones, good morning to them too. This is Venkat here, and I will be your instructor for your Java JEE SOA training. Some of you have already heard me. Others who are new over here, you can also watch through the recording, that introductory session which we had given to a couple of you earlier. The objective of this session is basically to interact with you, to understand and let you know that the way that we are going to go ahead and do the delivery. Okay. Great, Naveen. Thank you so much. I think Naveen was not there last time. Harpreet was there. Purnima was there last time. Raj is again new today. So for the people who are new today, just to let you know, I've got about 14 years of experience in consulting and training. The reason I'm there in training is because I believe that it's necessary that you should go ahead with in a structured manner whenever you are learning something new. And especially with the way the industry is there right now, they're expecting something from the people who are coming in from the academia. There's always been a mismatch between what the industry was expecting and what the academia was giving. So that's the gap that we are planning to bridge over here by making a very structured Java-based training roadmap. So what you're seeing on the screen is the phases in which we will be going ahead with our training. It's basically broken down. You can see your 4 phases, but then you will have a 5th phase also called as cloud computing and big data. Starting next week, we'll be starting with the phase 1, that's the essential technologies. The way we typically do would be that we are going to share with you through Google Drive a set of presentations. I'm having the same thing over here right now. You can see here. I'm going to walk you through the same set of presentations to let you feel comfortable with the way I deliver it. What is important here is to know that whenever you're learning a new technology, there are 3 dimensions to it that you should always be looking at. Understand what it is, why do I need it, or why is it developed in the first case, and finally an example to follow it up with the how dimension of it. So the what, why, and how is what is very important. So even before I start with the training, let me go back to the roadmap. Let me go ahead and ask if you have any questions even before I start. So today what I'm going to do is that I'll take you through a quick tour of what is XML, some of the basic stuff, what is the ID that I'm going to use. So while I'm speaking, let me go ahead and start with my ID. So we are going to use Eclipse. Eclipse is the IDE that we are going to use throughout this JEE SOA course. So it'll be good if you can get a hands-on to it. And when you start with Eclipse, you would see that it's going to ask you for a workspace. Something similar to when we create a file on the computer, it'll ask you, we will try to keep it structured, right? So we will try to put it into a folder, subfolder, so that it'll be easy for retrieval. So we are going to do the same way. So I have created a folder called as module 1, and this is where my sample programs are going to be there. So even if you select some other folder as a workspace, you could of course go ahead and change that. This is something that we would be needing maybe from day 2 or day 3, but then since this is going to be a quick demo, I thought that let me show it to you in the tool that you folks would be using. Wonderful. So before even starting with this, let me go back to this course content, the modules that we are having. So any questions that you have for me as to why Java, what is the need for Java, or anything of that sort. So I'm ready to take up that, help you in taking up your decision and assuring you that, hey, this is what is the thing that you would need. So once you finish with this, we're going to have a lot of assignments. We're going to have a lot of interactions. I would want it to be interactive. It's not that it's going to be, I'm going to speak all the time. No, that's not going to be the case. I'm going to explain something to you. I would want to ensure that you are following it. We are going through the virtual mode of delivery. So it's very important that even though you are there at your place, I would want you to be 100% focused on what's being said. And I can get into each of your machines, and if you have any issues, and resolve it also for you. So having said that, just wanted to check with you if you have any questions for me right now. Any concerns, any questions? Let's start with it. So as to what is Java or why Java, as most of you would know, Java is going to be the base. So when we talk about programming, Java is what is needed by the industry. So whether you talk about web-based programming, Java is there. So that is what is called as Java EE. That is Java Enterprise Edition. Whether you talk about middleware, that is where the service-oriented architecture is there. That's again based out of Java. Whether you talk about mobile-based computing, that is Android. That's again based out of Java. Or whether you talk about big data. Big data is something that is catching like wildfire in the industry, and that the programming model that is called as MapReduce is also based out of Java. So what's really important for you is to know that yes, Java is what is the base. So that's what we will be focusing on in our phase 2, that's Java development. And you can see phase 3 is JEE, and we move on in that particular way. So any questions, folks? You can just unmute yourselves and you can speak.
Hey, Naveen here. I have no questions as of now.
Please go ahead. You don't have any questions as of now. Okay, wonderful, Naveen. No worries. What about you, Harpreet? What about you, Purnima? What about you, Raj?
I'm good, Venkat. Thank you.
Wonderful. In fact, I don't think so we have muted you, Purnima, but let me go ahead and, yeah, you have muted yourself. You need to unmute yourself. Thank you, Purnima.
Oh, I can.
Good. Thanks, Harpreet. Hey, you are already unmuted, Purnima.
Hi, Venkat. Yeah, as you said that what it is that we know what Java is, if you can put some light on why to use it and how far that would be good.
Okay, sure. So, like I said, in every aspect of development, whether you talk about desktop programming, okay, so we have got a user called as Amita. Also, Amita, I don't think you have joined in the voice part, but that's fine. By the way, thanks, Alfred. I saw your message of no questions. So coming back to Purnima, I think what you had asked me was that why Java, okay, and what are the different use cases or how do you use Java? Am I correct in that understanding, Purnima?
Yes.
Wonderful. So whether you talk about desktop programming, so the way we have been doing desktop programming is there are two programming languages that is typically being used. You have been using the earlier programming languages like your C and your C++. Okay, and then came your object-oriented programming model through your C++, and then came Java. So the main advantage of Java, of course, we will be seeing. Let me go down through the Java slide and explain to you the very basic part of it. There it is. So let me increase the width of it and let me make it a little bit more big so that it becomes easier for you to see. So these are some of the important features of what is Java. Like I said, it's a programming language. It is, again, object-oriented because C++ introduced the concept of object-oriented programming. Before even Java came about, we were talking about structural programming or procedural programming, wherein we were talking about attributes and we had some functions which would be working on those attributes. But then the moment we started with OOPS, that is object-oriented programming style, okay, so what happens over here is that you're going to treat everything as an object, as any real-world entity, so that it becomes easier for you to categorize different objects. So that's the way how you typically go ahead with Java. So once you understand what is Java, it is used in the desktop programming. In the desktop programming, you can also use another programming language called as Visual Basic that has been there for a long time. Folks, if you can, Raj, if you can unmute your phone, I'll appreciate that. Thank you so much, Raj.
You want me to unmute that?
Sorry, I would want you to mute it.
Yeah, I thought I was mute. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Okay, now you are. Yeah, great. That's it, Raj. So now you are muted. No worries. So coming back to this, so when we talk about again desktop based programming, you had a programming language called as Visual Basic. So people were using that, but then a comparison started coming between, hey, object oriented style of working and plain Visual Basic, and then even .NET, that is Microsoft, came about with the object oriented version of Visual Basic that's called as VB.NET. Okay, so OOPS is what is the base of programming. Everybody starts working with the base that is thinking in the object oriented base. So that's what is Java, the popularity of it. It is used, like I said, in desktop based. I've given you some examples. When you talk about web based programming, you open up a browser. So you would have a server. When you type in, let's say, google.com, a request from your browser goes down to the server and it responds back something to you. So the most popular language that is used in the server-side programming is again Java based. So you can see over here in phase 3, we'll be talking about servlets, JSP. Then we will be talking about how to pick up the data from a database, that is what is JDBC. You would learn XML in the first phase, but then again, how do I read through a file programmatically? That is what would be your Java API for XML parsing, and so on and so forth. Then when we talk about the SOA, okay, so the SOA is also service-oriented architecture is also based on the programming model of Java. So the reason it is popular is because why? One, it's an open source. Two, because it is platform independent. You write something and compile it using one language, it will get in one operating system. Let's say you have got a Mac machine. You compile something in the Mac machine and give me the class file. On a Windows machine, I'll still be able to execute your class file without recompiling it. So it's almost like omnipresent in the programming world. So that's the importance of Java. Did that answer your question, Purnima?
Yes, why? Yeah, that is why part. Okay.
Good, great, thanks. So anything else, folks, as to why Java or what is important? Anything concerning the course? What about the course contents? Feel free to use the chat to send across those questions. So once I finished with the module, I could go back and explain the things to you also. Great. So let me go ahead and give you a short demo, maybe a quick 10 minutes demo, because the basic purpose of this thing is to get you comfortable and let you know that how the training happens, how the delivery happens. So let's take up the first module, that is what is XML. So like I said, we will be sharing with you the complete slide deck well before the training. Okay, we will be using this set of materials. There would be a set of reading materials that would be needed. So let me show you what we have been using earlier. So this is a set of slide decks. Plus, when you look at this, see here, we have got a set of certification material that you'll be using. So what is your Sun Certified Java Programmer? Once you finish off Java, we will help you in getting yourself to be certified. So what is SCJP? Now it is called as OCJP, Oracle Certified Java Programmer. And when we talk about core Java, there are a set of must-read materials. Okay, some standard student guides. So you would need to read that. We would want it to be interactive because if I'm delivering something for you for an hour or two, I would expect you to spend the same time doing some reading. And I know we all have got other work and workplace, and we're trying to improve our skill sets. And you might not get enough time during the weekday to do this. So that's the reason why we are typically having this as a 4-day course, okay, Monday through Thursday, so that the other 3 days you can focus on the reading dimension. But then having said that, it might be a prerequisite for you to do some reading before we start with the next day. So I'll tell you what are the bare minimum readings that you would need to do. So this is something to show you. I've got a folder called as Java Must Read. Okay, then I went down to Java, and here we are talking about what is Java, what is object-oriented programming. So just to let you know that, okay, see, these are the various materials, session materials. Okay, so these are the stuff that would be shared with you. So let me go back to my XML and let's get started. So when we talk about XML, okay, that stands for Extensible Markup Language. Okay, so can somebody let me know why are we having this as a markup, or what does markup mean? So the primary interaction would be through the chat, and please ensure that you send it to everybody, okay, so that everybody would also know what are the answers that you are giving. Okay, and then I will be giving you my dimension. If it's a new concept, I will be covering that particular concept. Okay, so some of you would have seen this word markup before. If you haven't, don't worry, I will be explaining that to you. So I'm just wanting to test to see how far of these things have you done, if any, in your earlier career. So can somebody come back via chat and let me know what is this markup? Extensible means you can extend it. So it has got something very basic structure. You can keep on extend it and reuse it in multiple domains. So can somebody let me know what is this markup? Come on, folks. Nobody? Harpreet, Naveen, Purnima, Raj via the chat window. Amita is only through the voice. She hasn't joined in through the. Okay, let me close this. The last thing I want is some emails popping up.
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to connect through the live chat, but I'm not able to anyhow. This is Amita.
Okay, so yeah, I got it, Amita. So what you could do, Amita, is that maybe you can get into a. Are you trying to click on that link? What's it giving you? Peter would have sent a link to you. So when you clicked on that link, what's showing to you on the screen?
It is saying Java is not working, but I tried, like, I installed the Java and everything, but still it is not working anyhow. I don't know.
No, that's a typical issue. So have you ensured which browser are you using?
Mozilla.
Amita, which? Okay.
Mozilla.
Try. I know Mozilla has got this issue. Do you have Chrome with you?
Yeah, I have.
Try the same thing with Chrome, and voila, you will get into it pretty easily. Trust me,
Okay.
and I'm expecting you here in the next 2 minutes. It has happened to me multiple times.
Okay, now I'm trying through the Chrome.
Okay, please. Thank you. Wonderful, Harpreet. So what Harpreet was giving the dimension is, when I say markup, he's saying that it works with HTML. Wonderful. So HTML is hypertext markup language. Again, another type of markup language. Naveen says that, hey, you are a little bit closer, Naveen, and almost very close. He says displaying text in some desired formats. Okay. So let me open up a plain notepad, and there we go. So if I only say something as, let's say, 30, okay, I've got 30, and then I have got, let's say, ABC. Can you let me know in what context am I using this 30 and ABC? No, you wouldn't be knowing that at all, because you wouldn't know what is the 30. It could be a number, it could be a ID number, it could be an item number, it could be the amount of dollars I'm talking about. Okay, but then if I use something called as order ID, and hey Amita, you are in, right? Good.
Yeah,
So
I am.
try to use. Wonderful, Amita. Like I said, voila, you are here. So for some reason, Firefox in some versions act very cranky. It has happened to me multiple times. So I prefer using Chrome, where there is a little bit more better integration with Java. So great. So let's continue. So if I say order ID and I put this with /order ID, this is something as a rule that we would need to do. Okay, so now you would know, and anybody who's reading this would know that, hey, when I say 30, I'm referring to 30 as an order ID and not something else. So that's the important thing that we have. Hey Kumar, good evening. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing super fantastic. Is it the first time you're coming in, or you were there last time when I had given a quick introduction, Kumar?
Oh no, this is the first time.
Okay, okay, wonderful. What you could do is that you can get in touch with Peter and he can send across a recording of what we had done earlier, okay, on last Friday, wherein we had, I had introduced myself and I had gone through the complete course. So have a look at that recording, and you missed a little bit initial part of this recording too. So this is also will be shared to you. So what are we doing is just to show how we are going to go ahead with the course, Kumar. Any questions, feel free to ask.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so that's what is the advantage of the markup. So let me go ahead. So extensible, like I said, it stands for the XML stands for extensible markup language. Whereas HTML is like what Harpreet mentioned, it is there as hypertext markup language. So anything if you want to present it, okay, presentation is typically done via HTML, right? Or using some programming language, but then HTML is the de facto way of presenting data, whereas XML is used to transport and store data. So that's the purpose of your XML. XML was designed to carry data, not to define data. When I said extensible, okay, using XML you can create your own tags. Okay, as some of you would have known, using HTML, I can't create my own tags. I have to pretty much use the set of tags that was given to us or is been given to us via the language. So if you look at the course structure in phase 1, we will be talking about HTML also. To start with, we'll talk about XML, we'll talk about HTML, what is HTML5, what is cascading style sheet, we'll talk about JavaScript, and we will talk about the basics of object-oriented analysis and design and how to think from the object perspective. That's what is UML, okay? So if you use the IDE, then I have created a project for people who are using this for the first time. Don't worry about it. We will be seeing how to use this IDE. Okay, for people who know that, that's fine. So what I've done is that, hi Deepak, have you been here before, Deepak, or this is the first time you're joining in, Deepak?
I have been here before, but I'm not sure it was the same thing.
No, Deepak, this time we are showing you what is, I remember you, Deepak, now. So this time we are showing you what is the basics of XML and a little bit of basics of Java. So this is just as an introductory session. The actual class will be starting from next week, Deepak.
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you. Cool. So let me close this and fantastic. So there you go. So what I have done is I have created a new XML, and you see here, this is, like I said, this is going to be storing data. So the data that is going to be stored in this particular set of file is going to be a set of orders. You can have any number of order. Okay, the order should have something called as order ID. It should have the party name, and it should have the order amount. And you can see here that I'm creating my own user-defined tags. And if I put my order amount before the party name, okay, that is also just going to be perfectly fine because I have not defined the structure. So you would be defining the structure over here in the form of a grammar. So that grammar is what is called as a DTD, document type definition, or the grammar can also be defined in something called as an XSD, XML schema definition. The other aspect after you start with, this is what is, the first line is what is called as the pre-processing instruction. Okay, so what do I mean by the pre-processing instruction is, somebody has to read this XML file, right? Okay, so the application that is going to read this XML file, I need to give it some kind of information. So the information that I'm going to give to any application is that, hey, the version that I'm using is 1.0, okay, and the encoding that I'm using is UTF. So encoding can be of different encoding formats. Okay, so this is what is the basic standard encoding. So the first line is called as pre-processing instruction. And then you go ahead and create your own tags. But then if you look at the order, every XML file has to start with the pre-processing instruction. Like for example, if you give a space, and if you give a space, you see here the ID comes back with an error, and see here the processing instruction, it gives me something blah blah blah. That actually means, hey, you have not started with an XML. Okay, so you started with a space, so that is not allowed. Every XML file has to start with this. So once I remove that space and save this, you see that the error goes away. The third thing, if you look at the order in which you have to write, the third is what is called as a style sheet. Okay, so let me write this down. So this is what is called as a style sheet. Sorry, somebody had a question. Please go ahead. Okay, no, that's fine. So this is how you typically go ahead and write this. And now if you want to view this, okay, I could simply say file, open with, and I would want to see it in a browser. So I could say other over here, and I could go ahead with my Internet Explorer, or else I could go ahead with the internal web browser. You can change what is your internal web browser. But for the example, I'm just opening this, and see, it has given to me in a very beautiful style, wherein it says it has given me a expandable collapsible button for my orders. So when I expand my orders, you see that I have got one order, okay, which has got order ID. If I have got multiple orders, it will show me the way I can expand this. So how is this happening is because the browser is the application that is using my XML file right now. The browser has got an inbuilt parser within itself. Okay, the parser is like a compiler, okay, which goes through a program and then lets it know how am I supposed to display it. So the reason why this is happening is because there is a style sheet, inbuilt default style sheet that you have in the browser, which will show all these values in this particular fashion. So let me go ahead and quickly create one more order and see if the browser is smart enough. In Control V, I said Control X, and let me say one more Control V. Okay, let the items be the same. I'll just go over here and I'm going to say refresh, and you see that it has come back with two orders. So this is the way how we would go ahead with XML. After the basic understanding, we will have to see what are the rules of XML. We will see all of these things. So just giving you an overview of how do we start with our day one. So the phase one, yes, it would be somewhat repetitive for some of you, but then for people who are coming in new, this is what is going to be the crux. So they need to ensure that they are comfortable with what has been covered. So we will start with the basics, and then we will jump into Java. So let's assume that we are finished with the essential technologies. You know what is XML, okay? You know what is the basics of HTML, cascading, style sheet, JavaScript. So we had something called as DOM earlier. So when we talk about the way that the web development came about, we had something called as DOM. This was called as, or else there was something called as a combination of three items were there. It was called as JavaScript, or it was advanced HTML. So let's call this the three components what we had in, I'm not getting the right word right now, it's slipping my mind, but then there were three components in those in that particular word. So you had something called as JavaScript, you had something called as CSS, and then you had something called as DOM. Okay, so DOM is basically another way of displaying the structure to you. So when we talk about the parsers, we have got, you are going to learn JAX-P, right? So see over here. So in our phase 3, you are going to learn Java API for XML parsing. That's where you will talk about DOM. So Purnima had a question, how to find the version of the coding of the XML we are using. By default, it is more of a way how we write it. There is only version 1 that we have right now. Okay, we don't have a version 2 until now. So the organization which is managing all these things is called as W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. So they come up with the different structure, or they come up with the guidelines as to how XML should be used. Okay, so they were the people who founded with HTML, HTML5 and all that. So if you want to find out the version, you will have to write a program, and you can, and what is this? This is an attribute. So this is the element. So using the programming constructs, you can easily find out which version. The application can understand which version a particular XML file is of Purnima. Does that answer your question, Purnima? You can say yes, or you can ask me a follow-up question via chat also. Wonderful. Okay, that's great. Guys, when we are chatting, I don't expect you to write the full, what do you call, the word. Like the way we use our messages, a small y would be wonderful for me to understand. Okay, encoding tells me the way I would want it to be presented. You see that you have got different types of encoding. The standard is UTF-8. That means it will be understood by all the applications. So if you use some of the standard, only some of the applications will be able to understand this and display that. So that is what is the encoding part of your XML, Purnima. Hope that again clarifies your question. Okay. Exactly. The first line what you're using is pretty much the standard way to do that. Okay, and folks, don't worry about small typos here and there. I'm perfectly fine with that, because when we are discussing and when we are typing, we type it in a fast way. So I'm perfectly fine with the small typos here and there. Don't worry. Don't even bother about it, friends. Thank you. Cool. So that was the XML part. So any questions on that, folks, as to understand why XML? So people who have worked with Java would know, especially where is the use of XML? Why are we starting with XML? XML is the default way of exchanging data between different applications. XML is used in the form of describing your application. Like, for example, when we do our enterprise development using servlets and JSP, by default, you would have a XML file. That is called as a deployment descriptor. Like you've got a table of contents in a book, right? So the same way we have got something called as a deployment descriptor. Look at the meaning of it. Deployment descriptor. So it's describing the deployment, and the way to write that is via XML. So you're going to use XML pretty much in all the, you might not be using it much in phase 2, okay, when we talk about Java development, but when we talk about enterprise Java development, when we talk about SOA, when we talk about big data, you will see lots and lots of XML. So before I move on, just wanted to check with you folks, are you clear with whatever has been just described very briefly right now? The idea of today's session was to let you know about the style that I would be teaching, and to answer your questions if you have any. So we'll give you a couple of seconds. If you have anything, that's fine. If you don't have, I'm perfectly fine with that also. Folks, either way, if you could send me a response, or else if you're asking me some questions, just let me know that, give me some indication that you're asking me some questions, so that put in some weight or something, so that we would know, I would know what you're doing. Because since we're there remotely, it's very important that we sync up, folks. Great. So Naveen was saying, why do we use Java and J2E for? Okay, like I said, I described what is why Java sometime back, right, Naveen, when I was explaining to the other questions. So Java is used as the de facto language. Okay, so when we talk about database, the de facto database most commonly used is Oracle, right? So the same way, Java is used as a de facto language for anything. For all desktop-based programming, Naveen, we would use Java. For any web-based programming, if you would want to show the contents to a user via a browser, etc., again Java. So Java is what is the almost omnipresent language that we have in the industry, friend. Great, Raj. Thank you. Thank you, Harpreet. So just let me know if that is okay. Cool. Naveen comes back and says, okay, that's wonderful, Naveen. Thank you so much. Fine. So let's move track. Again, just a small request to all of you friends. Since we were planning to start at 7:30, so ideally in all of these days we would be starting at 7:30, folks, because it's important that we follow the timings. Okay, so would appreciate in case if all of you would be coming down, or else you might be missing some initial part of it, and you will have access to the recordings. Okay, so if you miss something, you can of course go back and have a look at the recordings, but then treat that as a backup. Okay, don't treat that as a primary mode of attending the class. Recording is there, which is just going to give you a facility so that you can re-listen to everything that has been said. Don't consider that as a primary way of learning, because if that was the case, people would have read from computer-based training stuff, right? So this is where interaction is going to be there. So we need to interact and we need to understand, ask questions. So that's the reason why we have got an instructor-led training, right? Instructor-led face-to-face or instructor-led online training. Cool. So let me jump tracks. Let me get down into Java. So this is something that I have briefly explained to you. What is Java? So today what I'm going to do is let me jump across to, hey, did anybody have a question? I heard a voice coming in. Okay, no, that's fine, cool. So we'll talk about the features of Java later on. What I would want to do is to let you know how the actual Java works. Okay, so what I had shown in the last demo, or is what I will show you in the current demo also. So let me say file, close all. I said close, I should have said close all. There we go. So everything is closed. And let me show you how to create with a projects. Okay, so before even I go about, let me go back to the structure. Okay, so you would see here that after every module there is going to be assignments. Okay, so the assignments are going to help you to understand and to learn what has been done till now. So after every module there is going to be an assignment. Okay, like I said, there is going to be the examples and the reading materials that is going to be shared with you. Okay, so those things are just going to increase the level of your understanding. Okay, so for a person who's doing this for the first time, good. So you need to go through the basic stuff. What is the must read that we say? I've shown you the folder earlier which shows about the must read. Let me go back and show that once again. So if you look over here, we have got a set of stuff that we will be putting into a Google Drive. So for every individual topic, you would need to get into that particular topic. There are some prerequisite materials that you have to read. Okay, and follow that with the examples. So read a little bit, do a little bit of analysis of what everybody is saying about it, and we will keep this as a discussion forum. Any questions by anybody, we should be able to answer that. Okay, so that's the idea. We also have got an offline way, like what Peter had explained last time to you. So if you have it out, put it into the forum. You'll be given an access to a forum so that you can ask questions. And the end objective of all of this thing is to ensure that you understand something, you are competent, so that once the course gets finished, you can get into a job, folks. Okay, so that's the bottom line of what this particular course is all about. So now coming back to Java, so let me explain to you. So when I say file new, okay, there are different kinds of projects that you can create, I'm going to go ahead with a very simple project. This is somewhat similar to what I have done last time, okay, with in the last demo. But then here I'm using an IDE. So I'm going to say other, and let me go up. Earlier I had used my XML, so now I'm going to go ahead with my Java. So let me go down to, there are various versions of Java you can see. I'll go down to Java, okay, and let me select my basic Java project, and I'll say next, and then see where it's going to get stored, what is the version that is going to be used. You could go ahead with 1.6 or 1.7, but then I would prefer you to use 1.6 for the only reason that there are still a lot of applications in the market which is compatible with 1.6 and not fully compatible with 1.7. See, it's not like a whenever a new model of a vehicle comes, you throw away your old model or you sell away your old model of vehicle and immediately buy the new vehicle. No, right? We still go ahead use our old cars, right? Exactly the same way, because 1.6 has been there for a long time and a lot of applications are based out of 1.6. Okay, so I would encourage you to use 1.6. If you already have 1.7, I'm fine with that also. But then as we go ahead to some of the modules later on, you might need to have 1.6 also. So that's the reason why I prefer 1.6, although I've got 1.7 also. But then for most of my developments, and we use a lot of applications from the industry, so all of them are based out of 1.6. So let me call this as simple hello world, and I'll say next, just to show you that it will automatically create a folder called as source, in which your source files will be, and I say finish, and it tells me that, hey, what you're trying to do is associated with a Java perspective. So what is the perspective? You see on the right hand side, when I did a web project, it opened up a web perspective. Web perspective means something that is there for that kind of application. Then you see on the left hand side there is something called as Java Enterprise Edition. So if you use that perspective, it will allow you to create those kind of projects. Okay, so I will say Java perspective. I'll say yeah, fine, I'm going to use a Java project, so go ahead and change the perspective. So see, it has opened up the perspective for me, and now it becomes easier for me. So I've got the source, and now when I say file new, you see here I get a completely different set of options that I have. Sorry about that. I get a completely different set of options. Okay, so that's the advantage of a perspective. So now, supposing if you write a code, let me go ahead and explain how is Java platform independent. Okay, so the main difference between Java and the earlier languages is its ability to be platform independent. So how is it platform independent? Is that you have got a code, you have got a compiler. Once you compile something, you will get something called as a bytecode, or it is also called as a .class file. Okay, and you will have separate JVMs, that is called as Java Virtual Machines, or technically you can call it as JRE, that is Java Runtime Environments. Once you compile it using any of your operating system, the JVM is what makes it easier for that particular operating system to read from the class file that was compiled in another operating system and execute that. So the biggest advantage of Java is its ability to be cross-platform. Okay, so supposing if I have developed some applications in Mac and if I want to use it in Unix, okay, it doesn't stop anybody from executing those programs in Unix. So the platform independent is what is the biggest advantage of your Java. Whereas Microsoft products would run only on the Microsoft operating system. Of course, you would know that MS Office would not work, Microsoft Office would not work on a Mac, right? And there's nothing similar to that on a Unix environment also. So that's another reason why Java is so popular, folks. Fine. So just a quick demo on the final thing, and then I would open it up for questions. Now I've got the source file. The best practice is that you would always try to see when you put something. Do you always put something in your C drive? No, right? You would try to create a subfolder and ensure that it's organized. So the way of organizing a programming structure is by creating something called as a package. Okay. So what is a package? A package is nothing but a way of grouping things together. Like for example, when you say date, the date class, okay, later on we'll talk about what is a class and all that. So when we talk about our object-oriented analysis and design, I'll talk about what is a class, what's an attribute. But then here I'm simply giving a demo, okay. So a package typically would be your website name and reverse it out. So let's say if I have got Zarantech, so I can say over here com.Zarantech. Okay, so that's how I would create my package. I will say finish. So I've got my package, and now in the package I'm going to create a class. The class is simply going to say hello. Okay, that's the name of the class. Okay, and I would want by default. See, that's the advantage of an ID. It does a lot of hard work for you. So instead of you wasting your time in doing mundane jobs, this is always going to be very helpful to you. So I would say I would want the entry point, that is my main, and I would say finish. And bingo, you have got the whole structure available for you so that you can focus on the programming. So if you want to print something, some of you would know this, but then if I say system and I say dot, it gives me with a set of options. So that's the beauty. So let me go down to this out. If you recollect, I had asked you in the last batch when we did the demo, what is this out? I mentioned that this is a attribute what you have in the print stream class, right? So out is a variable in your system class which is of type print stream. So see here, these are all attributes, okay, and out is of type print stream. So it becomes very easy for you once you do this, whereas GC is a method which is not returning anything in the system class. So I'm going to say system.out, okay, and when I say dot, sorry, I had said comma by mistake. So when I say dot, okay, and when I select something and go down, it gives me the explanation of that also over here. So let's say I want to say println, and you say print, there are so many methods, and I've got println with a string. See here, it prints a string and then terminates the line. Okay, so I'm going to use my println, and inside that I'm going to say all of you, welcome to Zarantech. And I'm going to wrap this by putting in a semicolon. Sure. Amita, public is what is an access modifier. So if you don't say public, okay, then you would want to have your code only within a particular subgroup. Public means it's available everywhere. So there are 4 access modifiers what we have in Java. We will see more of it as we dive deep into it. We have got something called as public. We have got something called as private. We have got something called as package access and protected. Make sense, Amita? So let me go ahead and save this. Thank you so much. Now it's done. If there was some error, the beauty of the IDE is that, so let's say I made a mistake over here. I forgot to give my L over here, and it immediately comes back to me and say, take your mouse on top of that, okay? It comes back and say, hey, I don't have a method called as print L, okay? Are you trying to say something different? Okay, so we know that, hey, something is wrong over there. So we could go back and we could make it as println. And then I go ahead and save that. You see, this works perfectly fine. So the compilation process happens automatically. You don't have to compile anything here. And when I run this, I can simply go down to project. Okay, you have already built everything. Okay, and I can go to run and simply click on that run. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is clicking on this run button, which is going to run it. And the third way of doing it is right clicking on your program and say run as and Java application. So when I run this, it goes ahead and executes it. Okay. Harpreet, when you say system, did you say system with capital S, Harpreet? So let me go ahead and make you as a presenter, Harpreet. Okay, I would want you to share your desktop. So I'm stopping the presentation. I'm making him as a presenter. If you can share your desktop, please, Harpreet, I can resolve your error right now. There we go. Wonderful, Harpreet. Okay. Say system.out. You're typing the whole P. Don't even type the P. Remove the P. Remove the dot. Say dot and just wait. Say dot. Good. See here. Scroll down and you should see println on the right hand side. If you can scroll down, unfortunately a lot of methods over here. Okay. See, there is print and there is println. Scroll down still. A lot of overloaded methods and print down with string. Yeah, there it is. I could see it. Hold on. Above. It's there. Hold on. It's there. From the bottom, the third option. Below. Yep, there it is. Below. Two sections below. Println with string S. Below that. Yep, there it is. Above that. Yep, there it is. See? Println with string. Double click on that. And there we go. Put this into double quotes. Remove the X and put double quotes inside that. And say, Yahoo, my Java works. Great. And end it with a semicolon. Wonderful. Save it. Go down to run. You can do Control S or you could save. Wonderful. Go down to run. The menu run on the top. Yep. And say run. And that's it. See, voila. You see at the bottom window. Scroll down. Go to the bottom. You see a console window coming right. And I can make. One second. So supposing if you are not able to see that, I've asked you for making me as a presenter. Can you please make me as a presenter? And I can show this and see here I'm highlighting it. So that's the way how I can go back and explain to you and show you how this works. Supposing if you had made a mistake over here, okay, supposing if you have done something and you were not able to do that, I could make changes in your code and I could help you out in doing this. Okay. So this is the way how this would work, folks. So let me go ahead and make myself as a presenter now. Cool. So happy Harpreet. So his code is working fine. I'm sharing my desktop back once again. So that's the way how this whole class would go about. I would want you to be interactive. I want you to ask questions. See, I believe that if you ask more questions, see that if you keep quiet, there are only two things. You're most welcome, Harpreet. There are only two things if you keep quiet. One, you have understood everything. Wonderful. That's a good option. The second one is not good either for you nor for me. You haven't understood anything. So you need to ensure that you communicate, folks. You need to communicate, and that's the best way how it would work out for both of us. Because at the end of the day, what's important is that I would want you to be competent. I would want you to work well when you get placed, because we are going to place you into different organizations, and it's important that you're able to not only clear the interview, but also do well in the projects. So I think that's it, guys. So like I said, folks, I'm a little bit particular about timings. I hope you will appreciate that. Initially, it might be a little bit of a stuff wherein, hey, he always comes on time and leaves on time. That is needed, friends, because there are so many things that we do parallelly. Okay, so we have already offshoot our time of 8:30 by 10 minutes. I'll open this for questions, and I'll wait for a max of another 5 minutes, folks. If you have anything, now's the time to ask.
Hey, Venkat, this is Raj.
Yeah, Raj.
Who do we talk about the logistics? I mean, when are you starting the class exactly? On what date? And
Peter should be the person whom you should address that to. But then the dates have been announced, and we are starting with July 1st. The timings will be there from 7:30 to 9:30 Central Time. But then what I would try to do is the initial week, first week, we might just go about for 1 to 1.5 hours so that all of you become comfortable. Make sense, Raj?
Yeah, it does. And is Peter there? Or Peter's, so I can call directly?
Yeah, I'm here, Raj. I'm here.
Hey, Peter, so I can call you directly and talk about the logistics, right?
Yes, yes. In fact, I will call you tomorrow.
Okay.
Call me at this number tomorrow. Anytime between after 11 a.m. Central Time. I'm going to leave my phone number here.
Okay, that'll be great if you can. Yeah, if you can leave your phone number here.
Yeah, I'm going to leave my phone number here along with my email address. Just make a note of it. Call me or email me if I do not answer the phone. Call me or email me, and I will leave my cell phone number as well. Just hold on a second. So in case you do not reach me at my office phone, just send me a text on my cell phone. I will return your call. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's correct, Purnima. So the class would be from 7:30 to 9:30 Central Time, Monday to Thursday. That's right, Purnima. But like I said, the initial first week, I would want everybody to be there on the same page. So we would go ahead and have about 1 to 1.5 hours and ensure that all of you are comfortable with it before taking off. You're welcome, Purnima. So great, guys. So any questions, folks, before we wind up for today? You have for me?
Venkat, this is Raj again. Before you leave, quickly, do we have before I bother Peter or you? Do you have like a course curriculum on what you're going to cover first week, second week, other than the slide you showed? I remember this slide right here.
See, Peter, the challenge, see, Raj, the challenge would be that we do have a structure, we do have a timeline of what we are going to cover, but then I have seen over a set of earlier classes that I have delivered, it would pretty much vary with how the students' participation is. Like, for example, if you guys have understood everything in XML, I might finish off with XML on day 1 itself. But then if there is a little bit of reading that you folks would need to do, I would move down to day 2. So I'm going to keep it pretty fluid right now. I'm not going to commit anything on the exact thing, but then we have got an overall objective of trying to finish this between 100 to 120 hours. That's the higher level objective. The second objective would be every module needs to be finished more or less at a particular set period of time. So that's the way we will go ahead, Raj. Hope you understand.
Oh yeah, I do, Venkat. Thank you so much. And Venkat, I see in phase 3 you're going to cover Hibernate and Sprint.
Yep, we definitely do that.
And is there like when you say Sprint, are you going to teach like Sprint MVC? I mean, I don't know Java at all, so I'm just asking you a question. Is there like a module of Sprint?
No,
Spring, Spring MVC?
Yeah, exactly. See, when we talk about Spring, Spring is broken down into different modules. You have got a core Spring, which will tell you about what is dependency injection and stuff like that. Then we go ahead with Spring AOP, that is aspect-oriented programming, and the main thing is the Spring MVC. So we definitely have got Spring MVC as one of the modules inside that, Raj.
Okay. All right. That was my question, Venkat. Thank you so very much.
You're most welcome, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, Venkat, I think Purnima has mentioned a question on the chat box. If you can just have that answer, please.
Hey, wonderful. Thanks for that heads up. I just missed that. Yes, why not, Purnima? You can definitely have both 1.6 and 1.7 in one system, but then the challenge would be that you would have to let the tool know what version it has to pick up. So if you simply double click on Eclipse, what might happen would be that it would pick up the higher version. So there is a way how you can customize that also. So I will let you know how to actually do this, Purnima, when we start with the session. But yes, you can have both versions on your system. Wonderful. And one more thing, folks, if any of your questions is unanswered for maybe for 5 minutes or so, just put in a gentle reminder so that I would be able to see that, because what happens is that we are doing multitasking over here. We are looking at the screen. So for some time, some of the questions we might get missed, not deliberately, but for the fact that that did not catch our eyes. Okay. So please go ahead. And the next thing, Purnima, is, hey, for now you can remove 1.7 and install 1.6 on your system. That's perfectly correct, Purnima. When you uninstall this, please ensure that you uninstall not only the Java Development Kit, you uninstall the JRE also. There are two components that we talk about Java. Let me show that to you real quick so that you would know what am I talking about. I'm going to go down to my control panel. I'm going to go ahead and click on uninstall a program, and it is going to show me the different things. I have got tons and tons of application installs. It's going to take a sweet time in coming up with things. Let me say Java. There you see there's something called, hey, it went down. There you see. So you see that there's something called as a Java Development Kit update, okay, and Java TM update. So depending upon your bit version, whether you got 32-bit or 64-bit, so you would have to have this. Understood, Purnima? Wonderful. So I think I need to move, folks, now. So thanks for your time. All of you have a very good night. And